We are discussing how to boost your credit score by 100 points fast. Buckle up, let's go. So in this video, we will be discussing what a credit report actually does. What is the purpose of a credit report? Secondly, we will be talking about how a credit score is calculated. And thirdly, we will be talking about the tips on how to boost your credit score. There's 3 tips to build it fast, and then we have 3 tips to build it in a longer term situation. So the purpose of a credit report is to let potential lenders know your creditworthiness, whether or not you pay your bills, how you manage all of your credit, and obviously the main idea is to show responsibility and that you are able to manage this well. When it comes to investments, we always hear the phrase, past performance is not indicative of future results. Well, that's not exactly true when it comes to credit reports. These credit bureaus, credit companies are putting complete stock in the fact that past performance is indicative of future results. Whether you will pay your bills on time, whether you can be trusted with paying back those loans, and that is the purpose of it. They have a tremendous amount of information to deal with. They have been compiling these credit reports for decades and have millions and millions of examples. So are they reliable? Yes. Are they fair? Well, yes, they are fair if you play by the rules, and that's what we're going to do right now. So let's go into how credit scores are calculated. The largest part of your credit score is calculated by your payment history. 35% of your credit score is based upon whether or not you pay your bills on time. So what the lenders do is they offer a report every month and they say whether or not your account is current or not current. So they actually report that every single month. Did they pay their bills on time? Yes or no? So that is the biggest thing. The second thing we have to look at is 30% of the credit score is based on used versus available credit limit. So how are you using your credit? Are you maxing out your credit cards all the time? Are you not using your credit? Do you depend on your credit in order to survive? These are indications of whether or not they want to provide more credit for you. If you simply run up your credit as fast as you can and you max everything out, well, then the risk factor goes into effect there. Whether or not they want to lend you more money will be taken into account, whether or not you're basically maxed out now or whether or not you want to be extended more credit. 15% is based on the type of credit that you have. So think of things like payday loan companies, things that are very high interest rates. These things actually reflect poorly on your credit. If you have nicer looking credit, such as personal lines of credit or even home equity lines of credit, those are looked at as a stronger source of credit. Even different types of credit cards are looked upon differently. Some credit cards have higher payments associated with them. Some are harder to qualify for. The ones that are harder to qualify for obviously look better on your credit report and score you more points that way. 10 to 12% of your credit score is based upon new credit. When was the last time you applied for credit? When was the last time you received credit? So an often overlooked part of a credit score is the length of credit history. 5 to 7% of your credit score is based upon the length of the accounts. I know I made a mistake. I like things clean, and I had a credit card that had a very high limit and I'd had it for a long time and I was simply bored of it. So I had this great idea, well, I'm just going to go get a different credit card because I want something different. And I ended up closing that excellent credit card that I had been building my rapport with, that had been reporting for over a decade on my credit score. And I closed it down, and it did affect my credit score negatively. So of course, not closing these accounts, leaving them open, sure, you don't use them, but leaving them open so that you can develop that time, that history is something that is important. The 3 top tips to boost your credit score are related to the way your credit score is calculated to the largest factors. So remember, 35% of your score is based upon your credit history, your credit payments, whether or not you pay on time. 30% is used versus average credit. So keep those factors in mind. So our first tip would be to simply pay your bills regularly. So credit cards, do not miss a payment. Do not miss any of your payments. If you are having trouble and you need some relief, talk to the lender and make arrangements in regard to this. Otherwise, make your payments regularly. Even something that I did, I was a little bit paranoid about my credit score. So what I would do is I would make a minimum payment during the month, and then I would pay my credit card off in full. That way I never missed it, because the thing is, you can build a record so long and then some type of mistake comes up, you just simply forget. Well, don't do that. That will affect your credit score. So if you slip in that extra payment, that's not a bad thing, and then pay it off in full when it comes due. So the number 2 would be the usage of your available credit. So if you have, let's say, $1,000 available on a credit card, well, maxing out your credit card up to $1,000 every month that way and not paying it off is something that will weigh down your credit. So what you want to do is actually keep the usage of your credit card lower. So I've heard different numbers out there depending on the credit limit of your credit card as well. So 30% is a number that I've had thrown out there. Don't go above 30%. So sometimes it's even 10% based upon the credit that you have available to you. So what they want to see is, are you using all of that credit that you have? Are you maxing things out? Are you responsible? Are you living within your means? Those are the things that are calculated, and why this is given such a heavy weight when calculating your score. So do not use the full amount of the credit that is available every month. Number 3 would be making sure that any public records are taken care of on your file. So things like judgments and collections. When these are registered on your file, the lender will still lend to you if you have these on your file, as long as they are cleared up and paid off. So if you have a dispute or you've had issues with a company in the past, and it's kind of like you're just frustrated with them and you're angry and you don't want to talk to them, well, that you do have to take care of this, because it does sit on your credit. So the faster you get these resolved, that brings us to the top 3 tips for long-term credit building. So remember, the types of credit that you have matter. So you want to get the best credit sources that are available. So I personally think that a line of credit that is unsecured against you personally is one of the best ways to build it. The more credit lines that you have reporting will give you a stronger history. So a thing like a credit card or 2, that is the most obvious way to do it. A car loan is also a good thing. But a line of credit is often overlooked. Go to your bank and ask, hey, can I get a personal line of credit? And that is one way that will help build your credit, because it shows that you manage this. And then the other thing is, if you do have some credit card balances, this is a good way to take care of those credit card balances, is you pay it off with your line of credit, and then you pay off your line of credit. And of course, you don't go and max out your credit cards again. You keep that limit down at the bottom where you're using up to 10 to 20% every month. This one is related to the length of your credit history. Do not close your credit accounts. Do not open a credit card account or any account and then not use it for a while and then close it right away, because the lenders, they don't see whether or not you've actually used that, how you've managed that. You haven't been able to build up any type of a record, and so that could be a negative on your report. That brings us to our 3rd and final tip for you, which is monitor your credit. This is done actually quite easily. You can get your credit report for free. You can also subscribe to a service. Credit bureaus provide this as a service as well. If you want to do that, go for it. One thing to keep in mind is that credit bureaus do recognize that sometimes things get reported on your credit are inaccurate. So there is a way to dispute these. If you go online, you can dispute certain things on your credit. How do you do that? If you don't know about it, well, it's fairly obvious that if you check your credit, you will know that way. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something from it, and thank you for watching.